Some of you may not know that our sermons are taped every Sunday, and the czar of the audiovisual techno-communication team of Community of Joy came up to me last week, and she said, well, Pastor, the number of likes for your sermon has doubled. I thought, well, you know, that was wonderful. I forgot, though, that pride cometh before the fall, and she said, they went from 1 to 2 likes. It's a hard one. But thank you for those 2 who did like those things. It's so good to see you this morning. And I like, by the way, this gospel lesson. I like it a lot. It's about a healing. In the first 9 chapters of the Gospel of Mark, and we're looking at Mark profoundly this year now, they're mostly about healing. Now, there's some exorcisms, that's today's healing, but there are also some physical healings, and there'll be some majestic, wonderful healings like the feeding of the 5,000 that we'll get to throughout our year. This is a marvelous way of thinking of Jesus' ministry. It's all about healing. It's not about blaming or shaming or criticizing or making you feel guilty. No, Jesus came, what? To bring healing. And no better than this miracle. It's obviously a man that has schizophrenia, but they use the word unclean spirit. I'm not sure that's exactly right. And they replaced that, they had replaced it with demon, which I think I like even better. It's talked a lot in the Bible about demons in the sense that they come from almost like the outside in, and there's no control over them. And Jesus, in this wonderful way, provides health and wholeness to this person. And I see 2 things to think about today. 2 things. What does he do? What does he do? The first thing he does, and you can apply this to your own healing in your own life, he says, be quiet to the Spirit. Be quiet. And all along my ministry, I always thought that meant, shut up, screaming at those spirits. And then I read, no, it's better translated, to the spirits, he says, shh, quiet. And that's a kind of comforting, and that's a kind of a healing word that in many, many ways helps me much more than being screamed at back with all these voices that are going on in my mind, or all the issues I'm dealing with, this profound sense of silence. And you know that silence is a big part of what we do in worship. There are parts of our worship that are simply silent. And silence is a part of Jesus' ministry. Remember how often he said to the disciples, let's go off to what? A quiet place. Quiet place. What's he doing in a quiet place? He's in prayer, he's in meditation, he's in thinking about his ministry, and I'm sure he's feeling a sense of great healing as he finds this quiet in his life. As you do too. And I thought about that in the context that probably there's no quieter, more beautiful place that I know of, maybe you've been to similar places, than the Carmelite Monastery in Monterey, California. You might not have been there. It's about, I'd say it's right, maybe 4 or 5 holes from Pebble Beach, okay? It's beautiful. You wouldn't want to miss it. It's just stunningly beautiful, and it's a cloistered community. The Carmelites, by the way, never really get out of that building, ever. It's a lifelong commitment to being in prayer and silence. Most of the day is in silence, particularly the working day. It's an extraordinary commitment. And every year, my confirmation class, when I was in San Jose, we would take them down with another congregation. We had about 25 people. And we would go to the monastery, and there was the Mother Superior. And she would open the window, and she would talk to us, and we could see some of the nuns, behind and through the fence, going to chapel or whatever they do. But we really weren't allowed to talk to them. But we could ask Mother Superior. And always in my, I'd always had 1 or 2 incorrigible confirmation kids every year. This year I'm really lucky, they're all incorrigible, so I can't decide which is more. So, okay. And so there would be one of them always minimally ask Mother Superior, do nuns wear underwear? And I'd die. Do they wear makeup? Oh, don't. And so we'd have this dialogue, and she was terrific. She would share with us. Kids loved that we'd have a picnic. Well, the last year we did it was the same year we're coming down. And we get there, and talk about a learning experience for me. There's a sign for the Mother Superior's window. We are so sorry The Carmelite nuns are not available to talk with you or be with you today. They are on retreat. On retreat? How do you get it? On retreat? I'm saying, what do you mean? Where do they go? How far can you go into their silence to get to? And then I got it. They're going deeper into their silence, deeper into their faith. A retreat for those already who have retreated from the world. Why? To find yet more help, yet more strength, yet more power in the word of Christ. Well, my incorrigible confirmation class, we tried this. They were great. There's a way of meditating that brings you this kind of healing, and let's try it. You can just sit where you are. This doesn't take long. There'll be part it's better if you close your eyes, but you don't have to do it yet. You know the word for the Old Testament word Yahweh, or it's often Yahweh. This is the oldest, we think, interpretation of what the word God meant to the earliest of peoples. And you've heard that God is spirit, God is within us. Well, there's a breathing technique that we believe that is very ancient, that uses simply the word of the Lord. And you can try this, okay? So you can look at me and then we'll try it just silently. And then we can close our eyes. Can you just say the word Yahweh? Yahweh. And just change a little bit, that as you say the word Yahweh, breathe in with the Yah, out with the Weh. And again. And then let's just try not to actually say the words, but to breathe the words and say them in silence. It's, I think, such a beautiful, simple way to start the day or end the day. When you have those voices scrambling around in your head, they're so loud and you don't know how to quiet them. Pray the simple prayer of God. And I think you'll see the results, and I think you'll see the power of healing, the power of silence. So that's part of it. Be quiet. Shh. But the second part is be open to the healing power of Christ. Be open to the word of the Lord. Be open to Christ saying to you, you shall get better. You will be better. And here I have to say, I've had a lifelong relationship of pride for all those people in the healing ministries, particularly psychiatrists, psychologists, chaplains, those people that are part of the psychology wards. I've been in every single psych ward in the whole area here. So I've been here many years. Every one. Los Alamos, the one in Santa Fe, the 2 or 3 that are here. These are remarkable places of healing. They may be scary to some. You get very scared about mental illness, but it's no more scary than any other disease. And there, these remarkable therapists do these great things. And there, if I say it, they're called by God to calm those voices and to help people in so many beautiful ways. And I was thinking particularly about growing up in a town where we had the state hospital in my town, St. Peter, Minnesota. And that's where the mentally ill gathered. And there was a section off which you could never go. That was the criminally insane. And that wall was so high with barbed wire everywhere. Those had done very, very bad things. But throughout there were buildings and people were living there. And as a little boy, I had a friend, his name was Donnie, and I used to love to go out to play with Donnie. And he'd take me to all the secret places of the state hospital. But I'd hear the screaming of these voices, all terrifying, you know. And of course, these were people that were really mentally ill. They were deranged, as we call them. And I asked him one time, because his dad was a doctor there, I said, what does your dad do? What's your daddy do at the hospital? And he says, my daddy tries to make people feel better. There it is. My daddy tries to make people feel better. And I thought about that. All of those people within that healing profession of psychology that try to help people feel better. There's a great book by Ted Rubin called David and Lisa. Maybe some of you saw the movie. It's a long time ago. Beautiful, beautiful. David is, he's just, you can't touch it. He is just frozen by the sense of being touched. You can't take it. And Lisa is almost catatonic. And all she can ever do is talking rhyme. That's all she can do. She is so mentally detached from the world. She really, really needs a deep healing. And Dr. Rubin talks about the power of healing that came both from their families, but also from the doctors. And the breaking point, the moment of healing begins in a powerful way, when after the care of these two, as they meet, they like each other. And finally one time, Lisa says to David, David, you're strong and nice. You're not all cold. You're not all ice. And it's his breakthrough. And then she breaks through. It's love that conquers it. It's the word of Christ that conquers this terrible disease. And both were able to return to their families eventually. This is the power of Christ. This is the power of that healing word. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. There's so many things in my life that give me pause. But one of them is what happened to me with a confirmation student. I used to ask confirmation students if they would do a report on their journey of faith. And one of them was, the last part, what do you hope for? Kids are the best at that. What do you hope for? And her name was Mary Lee, and Mary Lee, I loved her. She would always, ask any question, her hand was up. If she didn't know, it didn't matter. Her hand was up. She loved to talk, and she loved to offer, she loved to give, and she was just so much fun. And I remember she gave me her paper, and we arranged a time to meet, and I was reading the paper, and if I got to the part, what does she hope for? And I read, she hoped for that new life would come to the churches. She hoped that Christ could be a part of everyone's life. She hoped for the world to be peaceful. She hoped for all the things to happen. At the very end and she said, and as far as my life is concerned, I hope someday my mom and my brother will not have to live in mom's car. I had no idea. Who knew? All this coming out of somebody living in a car. Zelda, living in a car. And I remember my first was, I've got to rescue her. I've got to rescue her. I've got to get her. And I realized, wait, stop it. She's rescued already. You don't need to rescue her. She's rescued where? Rescued here. Rescued in the Spirit. Rescued in the fullness of her experience of Christ. She's already rescued. And the rest did come. She was able, with her mom, to find a place to live. There it is. It's healing everywhere. If we only look, if we only care. If we're quiet enough to watch, and to hear, and to care, and to allow Christ to do the healing. How about we think of these things then as we prepare for the great healing meal of the sacrament, body and blood of Christ, and the wholeness of healing that he brings us. Through Christ we pray these things. Amen. Amen.